The scream tore through the late afternoon like a blade, sharp enough to cut the silence of the fields and leave my heart bleeding before my legs even started running. I remember the heat in the air, the smell of dry grass, and the way fear moved faster than thought as I reached the old courtyard and saw my friend's mother collapsed near the water pump, her face drained of color, her hand trembling over her thigh where 2 dark marks were already blooming into something terrifying. In that moment, childhood ended for me, and responsibility arrived without asking permission. Before the story goes any further, let me ask you something from the heart. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet courage ordinary people discover in extraordinary moments, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel, The Kindness Chronicles. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The village had always felt timeless, as if nothing truly bad could happen there. Dusty paths, neem trees whispering secrets to the wind, and afternoons that stretched lazily into evenings. My friend's mother had raised half the neighborhood with her kindness, feeding anyone who showed up hungry and scolding us gently when we acted foolish. Seeing her on the ground like that, vulnerable and afraid, felt unreal, like the world had slipped out of alignment. The snake was gone, vanished into the tall grass, leaving only panic behind. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes fixed on me with a mixture of fear and trust that weighed heavier than any burden I had known. People talk about bravery as if it arrives with trumpets and certainty, but what I felt was confusion wrapped tightly around fear. My mind raced through half-remembered warnings, stories heard from elders, and the terrifying thought that help was far away. The nearest clinic was miles off, the road uneven, and the sun already beginning its slow descent. Time, suddenly, felt like an enemy pressing its thumb against her pulse. I could feel the expectations in her gaze, not spoken aloud but painfully clear, and the pressure to act nearly crushed me. As minutes stretched, her condition worsened, and the courtyard filled with neighbors shouting advice that contradicted itself. Some urged me to run for help, others to stay, and some spoke in hushed voices about fate as if it were already decided. I felt small in that chaos, just a boy standing between life and loss, trying to keep his hands from shaking. The weight of responsibility settled into my chest, heavy and cold, and I realized that doing nothing was its own kind of choice, one I could never forgive myself for. I stayed with her, doing what I could without fully understanding whether it would be enough. I pressed cloth to the wound, tried to keep her awake, and whispered reassurances I wasn't sure I believed. Every second felt stretched thin, like it might snap at any moment. In those long minutes, memories flooded me, how she used to save the best fruit for visiting children, how she once sat with me through a fevered night when my own parents were away. Kindness, I realized, has a way of returning when you least expect it, demanding courage in exchange. The sun dipped lower, shadows lengthened, and finally help arrived in the form of men with a motorbike and a stubborn will to fight time itself. The ride to the clinic was a blur of dust and prayer, my hands gripping the seat as if letting go would mean losing her. At the clinic, reality hit hard and fast. The doctors moved with urgency, their faces serious but focused, and for the first time since the bite, I allowed myself to step back and breathe. Relief didn't come all at once, it crept in slowly, cautiously, as if afraid to promise too much. The hours that followed were some of the longest of my life. Sitting on a hard bench outside the treatment room, I replayed every decision, every hesitation, wondering if I had done enough or too much. Fear has a way of making you doubt even your best intentions. But somewhere in that quiet waiting, something inside me shifted. I understood that courage isn't about knowing the right answer, it's about refusing to turn away when someone needs you, even if your hands are shaking and your heart is screaming. When the doctor finally emerged with cautious good news, my legs nearly gave out. She would recover, they said, but the next few days would be critical. Gratitude washed over me so intensely it hurt, and I felt tears I hadn't realized I was holding back spill freely. Seeing her later, pale but alive, changed something fundamental in me. Her survival felt like a gift I didn't deserve but would spend the rest of my life trying to honor. The days after were filled with quiet reflection. The village returned to its routines, but I didn't. I noticed things differently, the fragility hidden beneath everyday strength, the way small acts of kindness can ripple outward, shaping lives in ways we never fully see. My friend's mother recovered slowly, her smile returning in pieces, each one a reminder that life can bend without breaking. She never spoke much about that day, but her eyes held a depth that told me she remembered everything. That experience followed me into adulthood like a shadow and a guide. Whenever fear tried to convince me to stay silent or step back, I remembered the weight of her gaze and the lesson it carried. We don't always get to choose our moments of courage, but we get to choose whether we rise to meet them. Kindness, I learned, isn't soft or weak. It's fierce, demanding, and sometimes terrifying, but it is also the force that keeps us human. Years later, when I tell this story, it's not about the bite or the panic or even the fear of death. It's about what happens when ordinary people are pushed to the edge and discover they can stand there without falling. It's about how a single moment can carve a path through your life, reminding you that your presence matters more than you know. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of a moment when fear and kindness collided in your own life, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who might be standing at the edge of their own difficult moment. Before we end, I have one special request. Please comment below with a single line about a time kindness changed your life, or a lesson this story left with you. Your words may become the hope someone else is searching for.